Peace and power. How's everybody doing? This is Musa Abdullah again with Real Life Critics. I just want to touch on two topics. Won't keep you too long. Just want to give you some good information. One is of a commentary nature. Another is of a critique and a necessary bit of info for you to have as parents, also as Melanoid people, if that is who you are. Hopefully, that is who you are if you're watching this broadcast, this video. First and foremost, I'd like to speak on something real quick, real simple, that I live by now because of my own personal experiences, because of what's going on in my family currently. It's about sending our melanoid soldiers and our young children to white schools with the thought and the mindset that because they're in a white school, they'll have a better education, a better understanding of life, and that it's safer. Well, let me say this to you. Being very, very honest, I've been in education for 16 years. Before that, I was doing therapy, clinical therapy. And what I will tell you, not just based upon those interactions of being an educator, but as being a black male in America who was raised primarily in the state of Michigan, which is, if you do not know, it is a highly segregated state. It's a very racist state. It turned from Democrat to Republican overnight after Barack Obama was inaugurated. So that gives you a sense of what type of individuals, as far as white supremacists, live there. It was home of the Grand Wizard of the KKK, and numerous other white supremacist organizations were started and have headquarters there. A lot of people don't really know that. But being in that school system, I will let you know that the only safety you will have is the one that's in your mind because it's only perceived safety. I want to put it into perspective. Um, as melanoid people, black African descended people, we do have a tendency to fight one another, to have anger towards one another, but we need to recognize that that animosity is placed in us through hundreds of years of generational poverty, disenfranchisement, and we need to understand that it's not by our own doing. We are put into a situation and circumstance that was not of our own doing, and because of it, there are going to be some ill effects. Now, with that being said, I'd like to say that there isn't a chance that if you send your young black child to a black school, particularly a public school, depending on the area, they may come into some confrontations. But one thing I can say is that most black schools in black areas and urban areas tend to be populated by black staff members. With that being said, you have a greater chance of your child recognizing that there is strength in being a black person. They will see an educator in front of them that will be able to represent to them what is education. Also, they'll be able to see what is the best and the brightest coming out of their own particular city. So, what do you get when you send them to an all white school? Well, I can almost guarantee you that they will be labeled, they will be seen as an outsider and an outcast, and they will not be given the love and nurturing needed for all children to grow. Understand that your child is in this setting for 8 to 9 hours a day with people who probably don't really care about their well being. I've worked in all types of school settings. I've worked in school settings where the children were black, but the educators were white. I worked in the opposite where the children were white and the educators were black. But now I've settled into an environment where 99% of the staff are black and 100% of the children are black. And one thing I do say that is overwhelmingly evident is that black teachers, black administrators, for the most part, care about our children because they recognize something in them because they were once them. White educators don't have that. There's a cultural disconnect. There is a social disconnect. There's a social economic disconnect that you will not get when you're amongst your own. Now, people would label me a separatist. Some people may be stupid enough to call me a racist, but no, I'm a realist. And because I've seen it happen, I've been a victim of it. I've been called nigger by nuns and priests and brothers that were set in charge to educate me. And because my mother believed in the educational system to a fault, it was hard for her to fathom the concept. Currently, my nephew in Michigan is being broken, well, was being broken because he's been removed from the school, in a suburban school where he was one or two of white, of about maybe 20 whites, 20 students, two black. And he was always a go-getter. He always believed in school. But in the sixth grade, he decided that he didn't want to go to school anymore. Upon further conversation, it was because the teacher looked at his work and said, "What is this garbage? What is this trash?" Now, I've been in education for a long time, and that's no way you talk to a child who's attempting to learn. But you do talk to a child like that if you have no consideration for him or her, their social situation, or their academic abilities. And we all know that disenfranchisement is real, specifically in education. That's where we receive most of our ill-gotten trainings, where we start to believe that George Washington was a great man, when in all actuality, he was our equivalent to Hitler. When we believe that Lincoln freed the slaves, where we're taught that we were in Africa, became slaves, got free, and now we're young thug. That's the timeline. Oh, I'm sorry, we have Barack Obama now. So we're free, but we're in Jim Crow 2.0. And when you put your child in a school that's predominantly white ran and predominantly white children, you will see that your child will change. Your child will no longer see the benefit of their blackness. They will never see the greatness of themselves because they're not taught that they're great. They're not shown that they're great. Those things should be at the home, but once again, your child is in this setting for 8 to 10 hours a day. Do you know how much that can mold and shape a child? Most of it is irreparable. So I'm letting you know that if you believe because you've ran to the suburbs and you have your child amongst white teachers and the school is so clean and the neighborhood so clean, what are you trading? I need you to be very, very clear. Oftentimes we just send our children to school in the hopes that they're safe. But you need to be very, very clear. White supremacy is ran by the gatekeepers of it, which happen to be white women who dominate the educational field in America. So with that being said, if you have your child in a predominantly white school, I need you to be very diligent and mindful of what they tell you when they have complaints, their gradings, and their behaviors. You need to consult an outside psychologist if they're telling you he needs to be classified or she needs to be classified. That is a pipeline to the prison industrial complex. Now, I hope that this gets some interest. I hope that you recognize what I'm saying. It's not being said maliciously. It's said because I love my black people and I want us to be educated properly. Look in the yellow, I'm sorry, not the yellow pages. I just did it myself. But look online. There are African-centered schools. There are African-centered charter schools. Look at those. Be aware that our culture is so rich that they'll never be able to learn about it all by the 12th grade, but they need to start. Now, with that being said, I have a presentation of information that I want everybody to know about. Now, what blows me away is that I was under the impression most people knew about it, but they don't. So if you are of the mindset, hey, I don't like to read that much, I've been talking about books, there is a series called Hidden Colors, and I'm not sure if you know about it. It was created by Tariq Nasheed. It is African history from our vantage point. It's not anti-white, it's all pro-us, and it's amazing some of the things you'll learn. The first one is Hidden Colors, the untold history of people of Aboriginal, Moor, and African descent. The second one is The Triumph of Melanin, Hidden Colors 2. Hidden Colors 3, The Rules of Racism, excellent. And Hidden Color 4, which is the most recent addition to the series, The Religion of White Supremacy. If you have time, look on Amazon or go to hiddencolorfilms.com. These films are excellent. They are the most sold, the most acclaimed Black history documentary to date. Please know that these are awesome films, and the information you get out of them can all be documented and fact-checked. He gets his receipts. The information cannot be questioned nor debunked because it's real and it's our history. It's time to become conscious. Like, once again, I'll always end by saying this. I'm glad Trump is in office because now these conversations are being had. I think it's very, very important that not only you recognize the importance of who you are, you recognize the importance of your children and your children's children. We need to stop living for ourselves and live for at least 3 generations beyond ourselves. In Japan, a lot of companies, they do 100-year business plans. We need to at least do 1 year. With that being said, much love, peace, and power.